I feel great. I'm walking around. I'm healthy. Nothing's injured, so that's a first. It's nice. It feels good to know that in a few days time, flush my legs because I checked a lot of kicks, so my shins are a little swollen. Other than that, I feel great, and I did do that. So if we're talking about the criteria that the referee offers me to make sure that I get to stay in this fight, I believe I was following those conditions. I was working my way back up to my feet on the fence, and you're going to eat some shots in those positions. It's just the name of the game. And before I went out to that fight, I specifically remember looking at this referee, Keith Peterson, and he's mumbling, touching the floor, putting his fist down and then putting his fingers about where not to knee and where to knee. And I'm like, and he won't look me in the eyes. And I'm going underneath like this to try to make sure he looks me in the eyes. And I'm like, hey man, I can't understand what you're saying to me. What are you talking about? Be clear, because you are in control of this fight and I want to know what's going on. I need you to make this work. You know what I'm saying? I need you to understand that. Shook his hand and said, I need you to let me go out. This is a title fight. I need you to not be stopping this early. And I'm asking you, yo, man, let me fight my fight. Let me go out there. If this is going to be stopped, don't stop this for some rabbit punches or something. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, because I need you for this. And I shook his hand and I remember, yeah. And my experience of him was smelling like he had been out all night the night before, like cigarettes and alcohol. So, and he could not make eye contact with me. I have never in 25 fights had a referee that could not make eye contact with me before a fight. So first I moved into responsibility and said I should not have put the referee in that position to make that decision. And I should not have, we're in the last 20 seconds of the match. So he says, it's not my job to know the clock. Yes, it is. It is your job to know the clock. You have one job. It's to keep us safe and know the time. Why did me and Henry know there's 20 seconds left in the round? If we know that as top tier athletes, you should know that as a top tier rep. And with 20 seconds left in the round, that is a time when fighters sprint. That's you got to throw Hail Marys in that time. That's the go for it time in a football game. Same thing in fights. And at the end of a 5-minute sprint, you need to sprint. Who wants it more? Henry did his job. He went out there and threw a Hail Mary kick. I fired an uppercut, and instead of the hook coming, which I was gonna slip, I move into his knee and he catches me. He did his job. He sprinted at the end of the bell. But I wasn't out, and you could see it on tape. And I'm dodging punches so I can get back up to my feet on the fence. And on my way up, which is the criteria of the referee, protect yourself and get to your feet, he stops me. So I asked him specifically, very clearly, looking him in the eyes, and forced him to look me in the eyes when he shook my hand, that wasn't going to be the case. And it was the case. So with that and my experience as a referee, that's the reason I said something. Not to mention, if you look at boxing, the highest level of boxing matches, especially for titles, they get a choice of the referee and the judging. Sometimes they negotiate it. I don't see why this should be any different, because the second I saw that this referee couldn't look me in the eyes, I said, I wish I had Herb Dean right here, right now. That's the referee I want. And, you see how he officiated that title match after, and I agree with everything he did. I think he officiated it amazingly. So you can look back, and I want to hold the referees accountable too. If you're in there, you should be in just as clear of a state as a fighter. You should be able to look the fighter in the eye and face every question that they have and everything that they say. And we should be able to, negotiate that, I believe, for at least title fights, because, that was a weak link, I believe, in my fight between me and Henry, was the referee. But don't put yourself in those situation fighters. That's what I say to myself, but in a fight like that, I expected it. I expected to go where I'm going to get hit, you're going to get rocked. And that's why I tell the referees that. I mean, it's a title fight. Somebody's going to get hurt. I expected to rock him, he rocked me, it go back and forth, just like me and Cody did, back and forth. I hurt Cody in that fight too. He didn't fall to his butt, but he dropped and he touched his hand, and we kept going. The referee did an amazing job in that fight, I believe. So I've just never had a referee that I felt so shaky about leading into the fight, that couldn't make eye contact, that smelled the way he smelled. And I have accounts of fighters who have legitimately, and camps who have legitimately, I mean, Jeremy Stevens has told me, like, he had to carry that dude back up to his room before he's so hammered. So this is real stuff that we're talking about. The fights are going on, and these guys are getting hammered the night before, and they're not clear, and they're coming in hungover. Like, you're a weak link in my 3-year preparation for this, and I don't appreciate that. I was prepared to die in that fight. I've been training for this for 3 years, and to get stopped like that was disappointing for me. Because I had more fight in me, 100%. Again, though, going to responsibility, Ariel, and I shouldn't have been there. That's what I can look at myself. And to talk about the fight and analyze the fight, the first round I gave up, I wasn't aggressive enough. When you don't come aggressive enough in that first round, I spent a little too much time feeling out, getting the reads. You give up the round. Second round, I came up and I was able to be a little bit more offensive with the reads I was making. And then, we had 3 rounds of fighting left. Those are my rounds in a lot of my fights in the history. If you look just at how I fight. So in a responsibility mindset, don't start slow in title fights. You don't get a lot of chances. And I did, and Henry didn't. And so he got that win. Making sure he's accountable and there and present with me when I'm communicating to him, because that shouldn't be what I'm doing as a fighter. That should be what he's doing to me as the ref. And I know I'm doing this, and I'm like, what's going on? And how, I can't say anything at that point, Ariel. It's already, they're not going to change the ref because this guy won't make eye contact with me. At that point, you kind of just go, all right, my responsibility is to just make sure you shake this dude's hand, get the eye contact at whatever cost, so that he understands you're here and you're telling him, and that he's hearing you and not just listening, going in one ear out the other, and that's what I can do. That was my responsibility. Other than that, it's focus on the fight. Get in there. Don't give him the opportunity to stop it because you can't trust this guy, and you go in knowing that sucks. Going in knowing, like, shit, all right, don't give this guy, but Dana says it all the time. Don't give the referee a chance. And he's right. I shouldn't have. I did. It's literally like in any other pro sport, you have to count on the officiating at times, you do. It's the highest level of competition. There's going to be dark times in there. And that's what I live for. I live to grind through those dark times. That's how I win fights. And
just curious, did you have a conversation with him afterwards?
Hell no. Do you see how quickly that dude ran out of the octagon? When I told him that he dropped the ball, he was gone. He couldn't even face me. He knows. He knows. You don't stop a fight like that for title repercussions. And with 3 seconds left in the round, while I'm working my way up, I'm not face planted. I'm working up. I'm going north. I'm going up toward. That's what the criteria is to keep the fight going. The ref tells you that. I mean, like, I can't sit here and say I'm gonna win. I would have said I was gonna win the first 2 rounds, and I won. I would believe I was on my way to winning the second, got caught, so he probably would have won that second, finishing out like that, which is his job. But it's a lot of energy you're using to do that as well. He's using a lot of energy to press me as much as he did in those first 2 rounds, and that goes push pull. This part of the game, and I'm in shape. So I like my odds in those next 3 rounds. I really do, especially with the experience I have in those 3 rounds and him not. He knows as a smart fighter, and he did his job. Put the pressure the first 2 rounds. Those are his best shots. And he made it. He capitalized on his best timing to get the job done with me. So that you can give him kudos for. No, I knew he was going to attack the legs. So I checked a lot too. And he hurt himself with a lot of the kicks that I checked. I would say he didn't surprise me, and I didn't feel rusty. I felt this is the first time where I was hesitating in the first round. I wasn't firing the way I needed to. And I talked to my coach, and it's like, he goes, yo, it's minor adjustments. We need more rounds getting into these fights. And you knew this was the situation getting into this, and I did. You get as many rounds as you can in a month time after, I've probably been going live with guys at the caliber of Jeremy Stevens for 4 weeks. So I got, I don't know, two sessions. I don't know, that's maybe 12, 15 sparring sessions after the 1,000-day layoff. And I did I felt sharp. I was doing really well in camp. But when you get into that scenario, I needed to fire more instead of in those first 2 rounds. Well, especially round 1, I needed to fire more than I did. So that gave him that first round, and that gave him the confidence he needed. So I picked it up in the second the way I should have. And I believe the rest of the fight would have kept going that direction for me. I've already seen the fight too. I went and watched it last night, and no, I felt fast. He had to make a lot of adjustments too. He was dealing with a lot, and that wears and tears over the rounds. But I felt sharp. I felt fast. I can't critique myself. I was firing an uppercut, and then when he was throwing a kick, it's like that's the last 20 seconds of a round. You get into flurries, and that happens. So, no, I don't go back and say that I was rusty. I don't believe that. I mean, I really don't. I lost, but I don't believe it's because I was rusty. I believe it's, because of the circumstances mixed with some choices I made in the fight.